Today I'm working on a few pieces for my mom because the 20th is her birthday, April 20th. I don't know when I'm going to get this posted, so if this is past that date, I'm kind of going to be happy about that. So she's not watching these videos being like, get that for my birthday. But anyway, I have a couple of sets of stones, and what I do first when I start putting together my jewelry, I always lay out the stones, kind of arrange them in different patterns to see what I want to do. With these, this is pretty a simple setting, earrings and the center stone. I've already made the bases for the earrings, and of course I'm going to grind and buff around this. This is just the flat. And then this will be the stud that goes up top. So this is for the top half of the earring, that's for the stone, and the stone will sit in like so. All right, but I'm going to take you through kind of a step-by-step process with these earrings here. This is Royson, and then this is Sleeping Beauty here. I had to arm wrestle a guy to get these Sleeping Beauty cabs. I've got several pair of those. So I will show you from the beginning. These are some sterling silver knives, and the neighbor across the street from us, they were clearing out their dad's house. He had passed away or went into a home. He passed away now, but he was going into a home. The relationship wasn't that great, so all of his stuff went in a dumpster. And my foster son and I saw that, and so we ran across the street and kind of dug through the dumpster a little bit, found a couple of pieces and asked them if we could have them, and they didn't want anything to do with it. So they let us dig through and take whatever we needed or wanted. And as a product of that, we got these 3 sterling silver knives. So these I am heating to anneal. This is what, they're a little warm right now because I just heated them. This is what they look like originally, just a butter knife, sterling silver. These ones I've already hammered a little bit. I don't have a rolling machine. I don't roll out my own flats. I have to buy flat stuff, so flat silver, flat stuff. So yeah, these are the torches that I use. So I do have a mini Smith. I use it from time to time, but this is my trusty propane. This is my grandfather's, and so I think it has more to do with sentimental sentiment than anything, really. I don't know if that's a word, sentiment. Sentimental. I know that that's a word. Anyway, okay. This is the torch that I use. So the new torches that you can get at like Lowe's, they're kind of, they are shorter. See how short that is? So these are the $15 deals. Nothing's wrong with these if you just need a regular propane torch. If you're going to try to do something though, invest in one of these older, I don't know if there's a company that makes them like this anymore, or if it's just the fact that they're old. Here's another one. Again, it's a much older model. This one came with exchangeable tips, and it has a rosé where it spreads the flame out, or you can get a thinner flame. So one of the kit sets is a pretty good deal. I think I paid $12 for that. Okay, so I'm going to set you up and show you the annealing process. Annealing is heating the metal to where it is red, just about to melt, but not melting. You don't want it to melt. And then we're going to hammer it. So we're spreading apart the molecules inside the metal and allowing them to kind of freely float. So that way, when we hammer on this, it will spread out with ease a little bit more. And then, because these are pretty thick, I mean, honestly, if I wanted to back something with these, just the way that they are, I could. But they're thick, and I can hammer them out and make them a little thinner without sacrificing the integrity of the jewelry. So I'm going to set you all up. I always use a lighter, and then I'm going to use 2 torches because the propane is not super powerful. So when annealing, I'm usually not that patient of a person. And I need my torches to be up a little bit hotter. I like to use 2 torches so I can get it hotter quicker. I don't know, I hope you all can see this. See how the metal instantly kind of changes that color, that hue? And there's a rainbowed effect just outside of where it's red. You want to move the torch off of the metal, so get it to that red and then move off the metal and you'll start to see kind of the red stays. That's right at the annealing point. So here, since you all in, to this knife here, see how it instantly turned red? Now I'm going to move it, and see how the rainbow, there's kind of this rainbowed effect outside of the torch. When I move it, and it starts to turn that auburn, see where it turns auburn right when I move it off to the right hand side? Right there, that's annealed. I'll show you what it looks like when it's a little too much. Do you see how it's starting to turn silver? I'm actually melting it. I don't know if you're seeing that. Let's do it right there. That's over annealing when it turns silver. It is silver, guys, but you can actually wind up melting something when you're annealing it, thinking you're annealing, and you're actually melting the crap out of it. Okay. The last step to annealing is to cool these puppies off. So we're going to grab these, and I've got a dump tank right there. My dump tank today is a little small. There we go. And then these are cool enough to handle. We're going to take you over to the hammering bench. Okay, so my setup, I'm going to get you guys down just a little bit. My setup here, this block right here came from a scrapyard. This is just one big block of steel. I put this guy, see how this hammered out? I wasn't about to replace this because I, you know, paid money for it, so I'm not going to replace it. At Harbor Freight, I think they're 60 bucks or $65. But for a flat surface, though, that doesn't go bad quickly, just a big block of steel from a junkyard or a salvage yard works great. Okay, I'm using a regular ball peen hammer. And I'm going to hammer the crap out of it. I'm going to try not to hammer right here on these edges. You can see where I did that. Yay. Where's the camera at on this camera? Okay. Oh, it's not going to focus on that, is it? But you can see this little bump right here. That little bump right there, I hammered on the very edge. That can make the edges really thin. And you'll wind up just having to scrap that area, or it'll split the edge. see already, I've worked it out quite a little ways. This one's worked out a little bit more. It's a slow process. This isn't quick, but hey, for free sterling, I can say free. Dang it. Stay. Okay. If you overwork the silver, you'll know right away, and especially here on the edges, without annealing it, because you'll actually start getting like slits in the silver. So I'm going to go back and anneal these, same process. Under the heat they go. Okay, so I have my knives beaten out to where I like them. I actually could do this. This portion was a lot thicker, and I could probably do a little thinner, but I mean, honestly, like the backing for this, slightly flexible, thin enough, and I think that should work out really well for these earrings. So I'm going to mark And actually, this is going to be a separate piece. That's going to be a separate piece. This will be one piece. That will be one piece. And I want to cut more than what I actually need, because you never want to cut it too short and then have wasted a chunk of flat silver. So I made my mark. I'm going to cut just above that mark, just in case. These are Harbor Freight scissors. They're serrated. That's the only thing that I don't care about, or care for, is that you can see little fine teeth. But I think that that actually helps with cutting it, because it'll cut pretty thick stuff. So I don't know if y'all can see that, how thick that is. So it's still pretty thick, but I mean, for backing, it'll work out okay. For earrings, you always want to just make sure that you're just not using something that's super thick. And I am just going to mate these and cut this one. And then save these guys for later. Oh, I need little backs for the little guys. So I want to make sure that these are stamped with sterling so that people know what the... This is like the miscellaneous stamp drawer. These are kind of some of the things actually that you might want to invest in as a jeweler. So these are just cheap punches. This is from Harbor Freight. So as you can tell, like this one's already bent. But you can also order these online. I don't know what those are. That's just containers. A cheap set of the letters, all the different letters of the alphabet. The rounding block doodad. This is for heating and actually doing half round wire. Yeah, it's half round. No, that's full round. It's full round wire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is. It's full round wire. It goes like this. It's full round wire. But I had a sterling stamp. Nope, that's a T. Let's see, which one is it? It's a small one. You can also make some of your own, like some of these actually I made. This is just a round tip. Some of them, it just depends upon the mark that I'm looking for. Like this is a half a moon. I actually made that one. That's the T again. These are for little triangles. I made those. Dang. I'm gonna have to pause this video and actually start hunting for that sterling stamp. So we'll be right back. It was on the block. So this is the sterling stamp that I use. I don't know. You're not gonna be able to see this. No. Anyway, it is getting rusty. I guess it got water on it. That's kind of a bummer. It's a very small script. It says sterling on it. And so what I do in order to stamp these is I will take them and anneal them, heat them up, and then stamp them. And that helps create a deeper, thicker stamp. If this was really super thin sterling, I may not anneal it. I may not heat it and anneal it. But for these, I will. You always want to check. And try to always just whack it once. Yep. Okay. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. You can see the stamp on there. It does arch the silver a little bit, so you'll see a little bit of an arch in here. I'm going to take the hammer to it. Just flip them over. Lightly tap them back into shape. And now they're flat again. Ready to go. So for working with bezel wire, and I know I want to use a short bezel wire because these are short cabs. Yep. If I can not drop things. These are tall. Short. I'm running out of short. Okay. What I like to do, this is how I do my bezel wire. I take the cab, hold it in my fingers, and you always want to start your end on kind of like, I would never want to start it on this round edge right here because it's a smaller round edge. I don't have any straight edges here, so I'm going to start it on the flattest round edge and not on this round edge, if that makes sense. And it makes your life so much easier if you do it that way. So I hold on to the cab and the bezel wire at the same time. Wrap this puppy around. And kind of just squish it. Now, this definitely does take delicate hands. So if you squish too tight or slip, it can squeeze the bezel wire and kind of throw it out of whack, and then you're left to trying it again. These are the cutters I use. These have a sharp edge. You can get the sets, and these are the cutters that come in the sets. These work okay, but I buy these separately. These are a much better cutter. And what I do is I put my cutter in here, rest the back of the cutter on the bezel wire where it ends, let that guide me and tell me where to cut it. And I'm going to check the stone again. I think it was the darker one. Even if you have stones that are identical, don't go grabbing the wrong one, because honestly, like, as someone that cabs their own stones, not all stones are identical, so. Okay, so I have a hair of this that still needs to be cut off. See how it's got kind of a slight overlap there? What I want to do is take mark of how many teeth that is. And that looks like it's only half a tooth. And I need to get my glasses real quick. Hold on. I've got a pair right here. It looks like it's only one tooth. Yeah, like a quarter of a tooth. There we go. Now, a little trick for sometimes when you're working with these, see how it mated right up? Sometimes they don't want to mate right up. So what you want to do is take it, fold it over and have it overlap like that, and then push it down, then pull it back up and lap it back in. And what that does is it makes the silver a little buoyant. Now with stones, sometimes you can totally heat these up, and that actually helps with the shape. Helps creating the shape for the bezel wire. When it's this small of a stone though, you really don't need to anneal the silver. So for these ones, I won't anneal it. For these two, and maybe these little guys, I will anneal it. Maybe, for the little guys. I don't know yet. Okay, for the next one. Starting it out on its longest edge. Overlapping it like so. Squishing it to make sure that I've got the right size. And then when I go to cut it, I rest my cutter on the inside. See how that curls around and comes inside? So I take the cutter and I rest it. You can feel it just touch the cutter. Rest it, and then clip it. Okay. I'm going to double check it. It's over by just the one tooth. The one tooth on the inside here, it's over. I would rather cut over sometimes slightly than I would want to cut under, because then you're having to make up a whole new bezel wire. Now I'm doing the underlap, overlap press so that they made up well. And take the stone. Voila, there we go. Okay. Once I'm done with the stone, I just set it on its silver so I don't lose the two pieces. And I put the stones up here. Okay, so now I'm going to do these larger ones. And again, there's no flat surface. So I'm going to start on these larger sides. I'm not going to mate it down here, and I'm not certainly going to mate it up here at this tip. I'm going to walk it around the stone. I just kind of pinch, hold on to the stone, walk it around. Get up to my corner. And I need to uncurl this because it's getting in my way. Get to my corner. And I fold it over like this. When I do a corner and I do the fold over, I kind of hold and push this side with this finger down this way. And what that does is any excess that's on this side folds around and goes out like that. I hope that makes sense. Now see how this kind of bounces back? How there's a little bit of a gap in the back? So that's one of the reasons to anneal it, is so that you don't have that bounce back. We're going to cut this just a little on the long side just because we have so much bounce back and we're doing the annealing. Okay, I'm going to do the next one. Same routine. Wrap it around like this. Go to the corner. Hold on to this. Press down, hold on to it, and then press your corner in. Okay, I'm going to make my corner a little bit better, because it's got some, like a gap in it. I could wait to anneal this to get the gap out of the corner, but I'm going to do it now because this is such, you know, soft silver. And you can always take a tool to it, but honestly, I've seen the tools, I've done that, and it's made marks on them. Like taking, I don't know, one of these guys, you know, and going in there and like doing a corner with it. Okay, now I'm going to cut this, and I am going to cut it a little long. Give myself a few more teeth to work with. Okay. So now for these little guys. these little guys, how are we going to do these? Because these can be difficult. These I may actually use and I'm going to use this guy right here because it's a flat surface. And one of the reasons being, it's an evenly spaced surface all the way through. These guys are tapered. So you have a taper on it. So when you go to bend it, sometimes you'll bend the top and not the bottom. It turns it a little awkward. So I'm just going to grab this. And this is to make my tips. For these little guys, because I know that when I go to wrap them, I won't be able to wrap them and make the tip by hand because they're so small. Stick it in my fingers. Put the stone in the tip first and then wrap around it. Get in there. These I may actually want to anneal first. So I'm going to cut this one because I know how much bezel wire I need for this one. Ah, come on. Because these are so small, I need to actually anneal a strip of my bezel wire. So I'm going to go to the table and anneal all of these as well as a portion of this strip. Tip number one when annealing something that's like super, super thin wire, because this is very thin. When you anneal this, don't have this sitting on something that has a surface that's cupped. This will actually start to bow really quickly. So you want to make sure it's on a surface that's supporting it. And I'm going to only use one torch this time. I want to walk around the piece very quickly and just barely get it red. Just barely red. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see the color, hopefully. Just barely red. Because I do not want these to melt. Barely red. Okay, now for the... Dang. There we go. Now for the larger wire. Okay. That should take care of it. This shouldn't be hot. And it's not. Okay. Dippy dippy in water. And tongs. I keep setting my tongs down in the weirdest places. Okay, tongs. Okay, so back to the other bench so I can bend these out. Alright, now I've got these. And I don't remember which goes to which. And at this point, I cut some excess, so I really don't care. But normally you do want to kind of just keep track of that thing. Which one goes to which ones. Now I'm wedging in my corners a little bit better. I'm going to walk around the stone, make sure it fits nicely all the way around it. Make sure I have no gaps. I'm going to lightly press the stone out so that it doesn't move. I'm going to line these up together. And then I will make note okay. Always keep a scrap bin handy. Now I will set the stone back in just to make sure. Are we overlapped? Just by, oh, just by a hair. Ugh. Like not even a tooth. Like a quarter of a tooth. I'm going to cut from this side. There we go. All right, I'm going to set it back in and try this one more time and see where we're at. That I had put some heat on him. This should help quite a bit. I'm going to hold on to the stone, and again, I formed the V for the corner, the tip, because these are little teardrops. I'm going to put that tip of that stone in the V. Gosh, these are so hard to hold on to. Put it in the V and wrap it from both sides pretty much. And I know I say always, you know, don't stop it. Always have the ends mate at an end where it's not a corner, but this just, for this one, it definitely will mate at one of the corners. Okay. I'm going to give myself a little bit more teeth. Press it out just a little bit. Small stones can be just as difficult as big ones. Okay. We're going to shape this one more time. And get a very accurate cut this next time. All right, now I need this thing to get out of here. I really would like to play some music while I work, but because YouTube loves to run their algorithms, and I had some twisting on this one, so I'm going to try to reform it just ever so slightly and get the twist out. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now I will pop that out and cut this guy. Oh, I talk about the recovery from my stomach issues. So for those of you that haven't seen some of my other videos, if you get a little end that just won't cut off, sometimes that does happen. Just keep chasing that puppy. Try to cut that thing off, because it just does not want to separate from itself. Ugh. Okay. Let's try this again. Now I'm going to try to mate, and I think I just bent this a little out of whack. We will see if this works for this stone. That's a little out of whack. That actually looks okay. All right. So maybe, and again, I'm going to try to, we will use this one on the furthest end of this earring. Right over here. And I will keep this one right over here. Because again, these cabs are still cut by humans. And so you might end up with a cab that, there's a silver flake, is just slightly bigger than the other, and they look identical, but they're not. Okay, so now for the rest of these, and I will probably fast forward through this because this is such a tedious job. Okay. I moved these over to my soldering bench. And honestly, you should probably not move these around, or move them as little as possible, because as soon as you start moving them, you can start bending some stuff. So I'm going to arrange these where they're not touching, because as soon as they touch, sometimes they can actually like weld together, and then you can't fold the little flanges over the stone. So I want to make sure that these are placed exactly where they need to go first. And that they look pretty similar to one another in regards to the arrangement of the stones. I think that looks pretty good. So for flux, this is what I do. I dry my flux out into little dried pebble guys. I drop it in like so. And this way, I do not have to touch my bezel anymore. They're exactly where they need to be. Does this use more flux than what's necessary? Probably. Do I care? Probably not. You can do it anyway, but this is what I have found has helped keep the bezel in its place. Yeah. Let's turn this thing on. Now you can heat from underneath, but as soon as the flux melts, it acts like a glue. I usually heat from the top, and yes, it does blow the flux around. I'll heat a corner and then go over the top. And usually I have my fan going, but I'd like to talk while I'm doing this so I can kind of give arrangements. And what that does is it glues the bezels in place. Heat from a corner so it doesn't blow all the flux around. And then walk around. Okay. Some people cut little pieces of solder and drop them in at this point. What I do, and I'm going to have to scroll or move. This is what I do. I have this great little pointing thing from Harbor Freight. I can't think today. I heat a little. Just barely dab it onto the tip. Sometimes it will melt on the tip if you get the tip of these things hot enough. And I want just a little ball of this, not too much. And then I go back to my piece. I set this in a corner. I'm going to do the big one first because it's going to be my staple. I walk my torch around. I probably should have done this to begin with this one. Usually when it's one bezel stone or one or two, I'll do it in this method and just take little pieces off. But because I have so many, I can avoid heating the piece multiple times. So let's get a new tank. These are the tanks that I've got. Okay. Normally, when I start decorating pieces, I have an idea in mind. And for this piece, I have an idea in mind. It's going to be simple because there's a lot of stones going on here, but it'll be easy to do. I usually have pre-made pieces all made up. So these are just little balls. You can make these with their little half balls. I heat them up on the tray, and it's all from scrap silver. It's actually nice to have a chunk of them on hand, so when you're decorating pieces, you've got a chunk to choose from. And I know that I want to match up a few for these pieces. Is that the right size? And of course, it's always hard to get exactly the right size, but you can match them up pretty well. I'm gonna put one there and one there, and then I need 4 smaller guys. 1, 2. Is this one? Yeah, that's about the right size. Okay. It is a little tough when you start like digging around in here, especially if you need 4 similar sized ones. Oh, that's too big. And then, of course, you take your eye off of them, and then you lose the idea of what size it is. I'm just going to put together several that are similar in size and see which ones look the best. Okay, that one's a little too small. Those 3 are looking good. What about this one? Yeah, okay, I got 4. 1, 2. So I want 3 just dropped at the bottom of this piece. 3, 4. And then 3. So this is for the top piece. Oh, get up there. This one's slightly crooked. There we go. Okay, so these are for these top pieces here. Now for the bottom. So super simple, just a couple of 3 balls here on the bottom. I don't know if I want to do any stamped work. I do have some pre-made shots. So I don't know if you all can see that. It's got a design on it. The shot block, I think, so this is the shot block. You just put the little half round balls that you've made in these and hammer on them, and you've got different designs. And then on the back here, I actually ground in and cut some of my own easy to do designs. They're kind of sporadic. But that's the shot block. Actually, I need to make more of those because I think I know I'm actually running out. I don't have a lot of them made, and so I don't know if I should use shot in this other piece. There's a pretty one. Yeah, I don't have a lot of the shots made. That's actually, now there's a little guy that looks like the big guy. Okay, I'm going to make a couple of 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to hang together. And I do these at the halfway mark so that they're not too big and not too small on this thing, on the 14 gauge. Okay. You always want to remember like where you, so I did it at the halfway mark, because you don't want to end up with one loop like really big and then the other one like really small, because that just wouldn't look right. And you want to cut them pretty much at the same spot too, or try to at least. That way they look as similar as they can. And this is not annealed, this is a soft 14 gauge, so it's actually pretty easy to work with. Okay, and while I'm here, I am going to make the loops. So these are the loops to go on the top of and the bottom of these. So that will give us loops like this that meet together. So I need that one chain link that goes in between, and I'm going to make those now. And how I make those, I'm going to use the half of this thing. These are by Bead Landing, so these are super cheap. You can order them online in the pair. They're great to have around. I think I've got like 4 of them. So I'm going to walk it around, and as soon as we meet at the end, I'm going to walk it over like that. And then I will take my cutters and rest my cutter on the edge right there. Rest it on the edge, walk it over, and then cut. So my chain link looks like this. It's kind of looped over at the end. And we'll fix that when we get these all put together. I'll show you how to. So loop it around and then walk it down like that. And then cut it right at the mark where the other one ends. There we go. Now I will pick these up and take them over to the other bench. And again, it's best to do this when you're working on one bench so you're not constantly moving things. If I drop one of those balls, I've got to go match another one. So there's that. Okay. Okay. So I've moved my pieces over, and I'm sorry about the light. The studio has a lot of windows, so I get a lot of light. What I do, and of course this is what I do, this is, you know, anything that I do, you can do it differently. It doesn't matter. What I do is I take all the balls and set them the way that they're supposed to be set on the piece, but upside down, and line them up. And I put solder first on the balls, then I put them onto the piece. The reason being, I've tried soldering, just putting a layer of solder right here beneath, then putting the balls on and soldering it. 9 times out of 10, I will end up losing a ball when it's in the pickle solution when it's getting cleaned. So the balls won't adhere to the solder. The plate gets hot, but the ball doesn't get hot, whatever. So I just take the time to literally put one thing of solder on each ball. And I am going to turn on the fan, but I'm going to talk loudly. So I'll walk through the first one, and then I'll probably fast forward the rest of this. So this is, I'm getting the little balls, a little piece of solder on my tip, and then getting just a dab of flux, heating the ball, melting the solder on. It is that easy. Hitting the ball, melting the solder on. And to keep the balls from sticking, to your doodad, because the balls will weld to this. Heat it and just roll it on your workbench. Or the camera stopped rolling, but the camera stopped rolling while I was putting the balls onto the piece. This is where we're at. I've added the decorative ball pieces, and hopefully the camera got most of it. I haven't checked to see in the film yet. Now I'm going to take my big bucket of scrap. And this is excessive stuff. Probably if I was doing this without having to video it, this I would have measured a little bit better, and this would have been moved down a little bit, and I'd have a little extra on the top. But for now, it doesn't matter. Oh, this stuff's like super tough. My SD card is full, so this is why my camera keeps shutting off. So I took my handy little Harbor Freight scissors and cut some of the excess off. You don't want to cut too close. You will always want to leave yourself just a little bit of extra space. And the only reason being is that if you're trying to cut way too close, and if something happens like where you bend the silver and you've got to grind it, then you're into your bezel wire, and you don't want to have to redo that. I've got my little top pieces here. So now we have the job of putting these little half round boogers on. So little half rounds are going to solder like that. And on the big ones, they're going to solder like that. So let's do one of the big ones first. And I'm going to turn the fan on, so I'll probably do the soldering first. And here, actually, let's get you guys a little bit closer if we can. because right now the sun is just really beaming in on where I'm at, where I'm working, and it's hard to see the flame. Okay, so these guys that we made earlier, remember with the little hook? I'm going to open these up just a little bit, like so I can introduce this piece. And then I can take this piece, link them together. Then I'm going to grab another pair of pliers, and I will mate these together. And if you need to, you can kind of squish it down a little if it's higher on one side than it is the other, or if it doesn't quite loop right or doesn't mate. Now, with earrings, I usually do not put a little dab of solder because these are pretty strong. I mean, this will take a hot minute for somebody to like really pull these apart. I don't know, I might solder these. Normally I don't if they're earrings. I do if it's a bracelet or necklace, I solder them together. I'm going to take the other one and again open it up. Introduce this guy. Mate that guy with him. And then mate those two neatly together. And then close that one just ever so slightly. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So these are the pieces. In my next video, we will set the stones in. So I'll do these in increments. We'll do setting of the stones, and then the final clean, polish, all that good stuff. So for now, though, the silver work is done for now. It's going to be cleaned, going to be put in the pickle. Actually, my next video will be the cleaning up video of how to like get the sides off and what I use for cutting and stuff, and then setting of the stones. Okay, so this is what they look like once they're clean out of the pickle solution. And I'm going to grab the very last one. Now, apparently I had left liver of sulfur in the pickle solution, so there's some treatment of liver of sulfur on this one. I love it. Liver of sulfur is what turns the silver black, and that's how you get that aged patina look, which we'll do in the next video. But the flux has been cleaned off of these, so I don't have to worry about the liver of sulfur. I'm going to leave that. But in the next video, I will clean these up and show you how to clean them up, get rid of the excess silver, and kind of grind along the edges, polish, all that good stuff. So the pickle solution is this stuff here. Sparex number 2. And I put it in a cup because I don't pickle that often. So I put it in a cup, heat it in the microwave, heat the water in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, and then dump, I don't know, about a tablespoon of this stuff in it, mix it around. A teaspoon of this stuff. Mix it around, and then that is the solution, and that gets rid of all of the flux. You can see a little bit of red in there. That's still the flux, but that's on the inside where the stone sits. And as you can tell, it's just like, it's just a stain on the silver. It's not big gobs of it. So I'm not too worried about that. As long as the backs are clean as well, which they look to be pretty clean, with the exception of the liver of sulfur treatment. So I will show you how to clean these. Don't go sticking your fingers in this stuff. Just take note that if you get anything out of your pickle solution, use copper or brass. Steel tongs actually hurt the solution and make it not viable, so it actually dilutes the solution and makes it so that it won't clean. So don't use steel tongs. Make yourself a set of cheapy copper tongs, like I did. It's just a chunk of copper that I cut up and made into tongs. I need to reshape them a little bit because they're getting offset. So that is the cleaning solution.